Hello, peoples. I forgot to turn off my Wi-Fi before I started this, so give me just a second and I'm gonna turn off my Wi-Fi. Okay, I turned off my Wi-Fi because I just don't want the same issues that I've had uh, the past few times I've tried to talk to you guys. So I just signed on to say hi. I've been in Chicago this week. I've witnessed all kinds of foolishness with the national election. You know, people are talking, Bernie supporters have talked about how they're going to vote for, the Wi-Fi got turned off. So we had a little pause in the beginning because I turned it off because I didn't want that nonsense today. People who are Bernie supporters have actually said that they're going to vote for Trump in the election. Look, y'all, I can't really tell you how to vote, but I would ask you that you should vote in a way that this man is not elected. Hillary, man would be rather loose in definition. Hillary definitely is the establishment, but this whole government system is the establishment. I don't see it working out positively either way because of the way some people behave about their candidate. So I'm hoping that after election day, we'll get some calm, we get some peace, and we will all vote our conscience. Somebody asked me last week about like spiritual matters, about as far as when you reach, I'm going to pull my chair up here. Hello, Nani. Hi, David. When you reach that point in your life where, and let me know if you guys can hear me well, when you reach that point in your life where you've made a very large spiritual change and you're worried about how your family and your friends, even your coworkers might accept something like that. Well, the first thing that I'd like to tell people is, hi, Manuel, good evening. Is that your business? I mean, you don't have to hide. Oh, by the way, I got a little contest going on Instagram right now. So if you want to go check out the picture on Instagram, I won't be mad at you if you step out for a minute, but a little contest for a free sample on Instagram. And I have several contest winners that I have not sent prizes out to, and I'm going through my mail right now. And so when things die down, literally died down in the month of G'day, which is November, I'm hoping to get out all of the prizes because I know I owe a lady some license plate covers. I know I owe mini spell kits to the winners of our love drawing contest, and I owe a couple people a couple more things. So I'm going to try to get all those prizes out to you guys before the Thanksgiving holiday. But people were asking me, well, what should I do if I've got a change in my spirituality and I don't want to tell my family members, or you're scared about how they were at. Well, you have to understand that. Yeah, hi, is it Naki? Hi, Naki. I see Mama Omi's on here too. Hey. Yeah, I'm gonna get to the Black Witch Conference in just a minute. But people are always really scared to tell their relatives or the people closest to them that, hey, you may or may not be Christian anymore. You might be a Christian in combination with being a voodoo site or a Santero or something like that. But I always tell people this. If you're a grown-ass person and you are supporting yourself and nobody else is paying your bills, first of all, you really don't owe anybody. Nose itches, y'all. I'm in here messing with some stuff in the room for some client orders. And all of the orders that were placed this week will be, my nose is really itching, y'all. Woo. If you look on Instagram, you'll see what I just got through making, and you'll understand why my nose is like twitching and shit. I'm trying not to rub my nose on live, but nature calls. So, if you are fully self-supportive and had been so for quite some time, and you got the type of family like a lot of us have, that even if you did run into a financial issue or needing some support issue, they may not be the persons that you call. Okay, then don't give a fuck. You don't really have to tell them anything, but if you do, don't worry about their backlash. I tell people that I hold my God, I hold my spirits and my Lawal and my ancestors in higher reverence than I ever fear a human being. So I could give a shit about what anybody thinks. I had a family member told me that he and his wife weren't going to come to my house because I had altars. Okay. I ain't coming to your house either. It's okay. I've had family members corner other family members because it's kind of like this. I've got half of my family members think I'm a devil worshiper, and the other half are my clients. And so when the client half wants to come to my house for a reading, what I call the holy rollers, get them in the corner and tell them, oh, you got to watch what you let into your spirits. They even made my aunt cry. And, that's some bullshit, really. Before I became a practitioner, I was told that tarot cards were evil and full of satanic imagery. And, I had a girlfriend who was staying with me, and she used to pull the daily tarot up on the computer. And I'd be like, no, I can't have that in my house because I was a Baptist and I wasn't woke yet. And then now that I look at the tarot, there's nothing. Even the devil card isn't really satanic. It shows that we make our own prisons, usually. And we enslave ourselves, And so, we can't allow people's preconceived notions of what we do to stop us on our spiritual path. Now, one of the things I can tell you is it does provide a great opportunity for education. It was funny because the same cousin who said, you got to watch what you let into your spirit, a decade before that, I asked her, what if I became a Buddhist? And she says, well, I wouldn't, there are several ways to God. But when it becomes African and it becomes voodoo or it becomes any ATR, then all of a sudden, oh, Lord Jesus is a fire. All of a sudden it's evil. And unfortunately, it's because people are not educated. So I sat this week with a bunch of my coworkers, and one of them is from Africa, and he knows. We sit and talk about it all the time. He's like, I've seen some stuff that cannot be explained at home. And he gets it. And you try to explain the concept of it to other people, and sometimes you hope they understand, but I think they are left with a newer reverence of what my religious beliefs are, that were not anything like they'd ever seen in movies. And I led them to some stuff that would educate them on African traditional religions, that's not seen in movies, and it's not seen in some of this Christian propaganda. So, it's just like any religious conversion. I remember when I was young, my mother didn't want me to convert to Catholicism, and my daughter's father's family were Catholics. And like it was basically, she said it was pagan, even though she wasn't really a Christian herself. But, the Catholic Church does have a lot of magic in it. But so you're gonna run into that when you're about to make a real huge change to your life. But anybody, and I want you all to speak up in the comments here, who has participated in any initiatory practice, especially an initiatory practice, but who has become maybe, and I'm not familiar with, there's a lot of solitary practitioners with Wicca, but I know there's initiations there. Traditional witchcraft, put something in the comments about how that changed your life, because it's a different change. And one of the things that's most important about practicing one of these paths and one of these religions that falls out of the Abrahamic circle is we don't have to go and preach to people. We also don't have to go and tell people that they're going to hell. What we're going to tell people is that this empowers us This is our power. This religion is the only reason, all these ATRs are the only reason why we survived slavery. And it's the only reason why we continue to live today. Even though we may not be acknowledging it, the ancestors are there and they're helping us. So you all have to understand there's a big change. For the first time yesterday, I ran into a black woman who was all over me. You know, I ran into an older woman like that but she was in an occult store. But I'm talking about somebody who was right, you know, at the airport patting me down, and she smelled me. She first of all said, "Your hair is beautiful." And I said, "Thank you." And I took off my pentagram earrings and necklace because it's always setting off the airport sensors. So I'd already taken all that stuff off, so she didn't see that. And then she was saying, "What kind of oils do you have on?" I said, "They're mine. I'm a spiritual worker. I'm a two-handed doctor, conjure doctor." And she was just like, "Oh my God, my sister, she's kind of practicing. And do you do work with the moon and all these things?" And I was like, man, wow, this is changing. And I keep trying to tell people, like her, love her, dislike her, Beyonce got a lot of witches coming out the closet. Whether she meant to or not, I think that Lemonade was very deliberate. And I shared a link with my friends about how Beyonce's Lemonade, all of the African gods that showed up in, or Orisha, however you want to see them, Orisha or gods, showed up in her video. And, you know, I think that really, really opened a floodgate. You know, when you are trying to find out what you should be doing, definitely I would get readings from respected priestesses and priests in the beginning, you know, and people can refer you to those. And it's really hard to navigate these waters because we got some folks out here that's on some fuck shit. And, you know, it's hard to tell the real people from the not real people. And you got people giving people misinformation and giving them fake initiations and taking their money and really just not doing anything for them, period. It's a hard, and that's one of the reasons as I go through my initiatory search, it's hard for me right now to figure out exactly where I'm going. I've had some indications about what I should be doing and where I should be going, but just like I told a client tonight, it is of the utmost importance that you take a lot of time and introspection with yourself, a lot of study, just basic information about what a tradition is about before you just jump off into it, because that happens to a lot of people. They'll grab the first thing they see coming, and they think the people that are in their house or Saucier, you know, or Ile, that they're all, you know, up and up. And then they find out, well, maybe that's not so much the truth. And then they become disillusioned. It happens to people. It happens to covens. It happens. So, you know, I know because a lot of Black people are talking about Black girl magic and what does that mean, you know, we're gravitating to these ATRs, but, you know, make sure that you it feels good in your soul. If there's something in your spirit that tells you that you shouldn't do it, you know, learn how to divine for yourself. Learn how to peep out and have the discernment that you're getting a good divination from someone, and that's hard. You know, and after a while, you just have to give it up to the universe and the ancestors before you go and make that leap. But also remember, and people are talking and they're telling their testimonies. I know that voodoo has saved a lot of people's lives. People were suicidal. They were depressed. They suffered from different forms of mental illness, and sometimes they were completely healed, or sometimes the Loa made it incredibly manageable. You know, it's a freeing religion. I heard a Bokur on YouTube talking about the differences between, you know, Ifa and voodoo, and like, you know, what I love about voodoo is good begets good, evil begets evil. There's no real, you know, there's not a thing where you're going to go to hell and, you know, you're going to suffer if you don't do this, this, and that. Now, what I can tell you is if you receive spirits and you don't serve them properly, don't expect them to help you. Okay? So when you want to, and this thing just paused on me, even though I am not connected to Wi-Fi right now. if you want to go into an initiatory path, remember, even if you run into a situation where the people you are surrounded by disappoint you, remember, they are not the faith. A lot of times, especially in these mega churches, you see people very upset, like when Eddie Long, you know, got caught with messing around with all those boys. And you'll find that the preachers that want to sit up in the pulpits and discuss homosexuality like it's a sin against God are usually the biggest homosexuals you ever want to meet. And I saw a picture of Eddie Long the other day, and they say he has like a stomach cancer. I am convinced, especially because of his irresponsible behavior, that man's probably unfortunately dying of AIDS. And it's probably because he was not careful. You know, people who tend to repress their real sexuality tend to make a lot of self-destructive mistakes, including the hiring of prostitutes. So whereas if he could have been, you know, really truthful with himself and sustained a relationship with a man and had the courage to stand up in front of his congregation and say, hey, I'm gay, well, maybe he wouldn't have engaged in such self-destructive behavior. And it's not the fact that he was gay that he had AIDS. It's the fact that he wasn't probably careful that he has AIDS, because there are lots of heterosexual people who have it as well. So, you know, you have to understand that, you know, when you want to join one of these paths, that number one, you got to be in a place here where you don't really give a damn what anybody thinks. And that means, and that's another thing, we can't be perfect, okay? But especially people who are looking, I was talking to a client tonight, who are aspiring to become a Mambo, a Gan, a Babalao. You, or Santero, you got to have yourself in a place where you are fit to lead. That does not mean that you're perfect. That does not mean that you make mistakes, but that means that you have the maturity and that in your mundane life, you got your shit together to an extent where you will be able to handle that responsibility. And, you know, I could not say if I'm in that place right now. Every day I try to do a little bit better on a lot of things, but you know, that's something that has a real seriousness about it, because we really, really, really need, especially in the Black community, strong people that are priests and priestesses to lead us, especially because the more and more as I'm seeing it, that is going to be one of our primary levels of defense against some of the things that we are experiencing as Black people. And they keep writing articles about it and talking about how we're leaving the church and how we're going back to African religions. And, you know, civilizations are funny. They go up, they go down, things change. You know, people think that Christianity has always been, and it's the biggest religion in the world, simply because it's been one of the fastest growing in the last 2,000 years. But before that, it was non-existent. What did people do? Before Judaism, before the Torah, what did people do? So there is a history of religions that precede all of these modern day traditions that people have followed. And nobody like self-combusted or went to hell or stopped living because they chose a different religion. As a matter of fact, I can honestly say for myself that since I began practicing root work, since I've started studying to become an initiated voodoo scientist, I started studying the other African traditional religions and the differences between them, and really started talking to my ancestors, really talking to my own spirit, you know, trusting the God in me. That's what they mean when they say Holy Spirit. That's that God in you. And listening to my environment, to nature, to the wind, to knowing when a spirit is speaking to me, knowing when a spirit is talking to me in a dream. I was in my hotel room the other night, and the spirit of my friend's son tapped me on my shoulder, and I knew it was him because I was thinking about him, and he did stuff like that. He was real quiet. He'd tap you on your shoulder, like if he wanted to get around, or you were standing in his way, or he just messed with you. But, it takes a lot to really come in tune with that type of stuff, especially because, and then people will think you crazy when you start talking about you talking in spirits. So like I said, not everything is everybody's business, but there are things you have to train yourself to do. As a child and as an adult, I was plagued with sleep paralysis, and I sat down and I talked to my friend's mother years ago, and she told me it was haint riding. She told me that spirits were riding her, and they found water up under her bed after she died. And she was talking about a particular spirit that would ride her chest. Well, she went in to have her chest looked at, and she ended up having to have triple bypass. So that may not have been a malevolent spirit. That might have actually been an ancestor telling her she needed to get looked at. So and I had another young lady in the group talk about sleep paralysis. It's a very scary thing. You're awake, but you're not. And for me, I get this very weird buzzing in my ears. If you've ever seen that crazy ass movie, oh God. It's The Prince of Darkness, I think it's called. And they've got Satan literally in like some type of can. Kind of reminds me of that old-fashioned Welch's grape juice commercial where they put the Smuckers, whatever, where the can would close. That used to scare me as a child. If you're over 40, you remember that commercial. But in any case, he emitted this weird buzz. And that is what I would have happened to me before sleep paralysis set in. And they would literally lay on me, and I could feel the pressure. And I was terrifying. So as I became stronger in my faith as a Christian, I started learning how to pray and command them in Jesus' name to leave me alone. And it sometimes worked, sometimes it didn't. But now when they come, not only can I ask for help from my ancestors, from my spirits, I'm strong enough where I can say, you know what, I'm going to need y'all to get the fuck out of here because I'm trying to sleep. And I'm just really not trying to have that bullshit tonight. And that is the exact way I am when that comes upon me. And it gets you when you're most tired. So, people will think you're crazy when you start talking about those types of things. But sleep paralysis is a very scientific, physiological thing. And it's a vulnerability. Anytime you are spiritually vulnerable, you will be attacked, and so one of the speaking of the Black Witch Conference, I'm giving a lecture on magic in your everyday life because people don't know how to protect themselves or cleanse themselves or reverse what they call bad juju. Some people do, but they feel like they have to have all these things, and it's so hard. And so then hopefully I will take that and turn that into a 4-week class that we will have online via Blackboard course sites, where we will also have live meetings. Yes, it does. Sleep paralysis is a bitch, and it's terrifying. And as a child, nobody would pay attention to me when I would say, I'm getting fucked up in my sleep, people. But it's really important that, if you believe in these things, people always ask, well, can magic happen? Will magic work if that person doesn't believe in it? Yeah, I've seen plenty of folks fucked up by magic. I've seen plenty of people blessed by magic who don't believe in it. But you as a practitioner, you better believe in it. We have a lot of people that want to, buy things and not know what they're used for, try things, and they haven't done the research. Personally, I think, and that's why I sell products and I do very little spiritual work for people, because I believe, first line, you've done everything mundanely you could possibly think of to solve the problem. And then secondly, you've tried some magic on your own, but you should get a divination, because sometimes magic doesn't solve a particular issue. And that's often what I find with a lot of my clients, that magic is not really going to alleviate the problem, because the problem is mundanely deep that they need to work on. And then once it's been worked on, then magic can be of some assistance. Prayer always works. Ancestors always work. Angels, spirits, God always works. They don't, ignore you. However, when you're working with spell work and roots and herbs, that's a further profession of your faith. And these roots and herbs have spirits just like anything else. So, sometimes you need a little bit, sometimes you need a lot. And like I said, sometimes I have to refer people to actual priests or priestesses within a tradition, ones that they feel comfortable in. So, somebody says, how do you know my name? Okay. I'm just like, it's wrong to say, this is why I don't deal with many witches. I enjoy being solitary. This is the thing, it's kind of scary though, because, I've had friends who are witches who I'm not friends with anymore. I've had people that I have been really close to that I have not been friends with anymore. But I can honestly say that most of those people are very responsible magicians, and I feel the same way. This person is going to be more problems to themselves than I could ever be magically. The only time I would ever deal with someone magically is if they came after me. And I've had that happen. But, as with anybody, it's not just witches. I forgot, I gotta close up this devil's dung. Ooh, Lord. And don't open up valerian until you ready to use it. I was like, what in the hell? And then I realized I'd opened my valerian. But you with anybody, you really have to vet your friends. People who are not practitioners per se can throw shade and throw the evil eye and cause you some problems as well. So, you keep yourself protected. You have some ethics about you. You don't gossip about people. You don't insult somebody else in the way they do what they do. And you should be pretty okay. But, you really, really have to, you shouldn't be dating somebody else's man. That's an invitation to get fucked up, because women don't ever go after the man. They always go after the other woman, which is some of the stupidest shit I've ever seen. But that's a lot of my clients who are suffering from the effects of witchcraft. That's happened to them. But you have to, if you're a decent person, you don't have to worry about too many spiritual attacks, because you are following, I got thrown off because, Dan, you talking about this rule of three. Yeah, is that like that Wicca that read hurt no one? Because that's not like what I don't use a rule of three. I understand in my religion that good begets good and evil begets evil. And if I pass out evil, evil will come back to me. That is not karma. Karma is a completely different concept. That's not karma. Karma is how you live in this life will affect your next life. That karma that everybody talks about here, that goes around, comes around, that's Western karma. That has nothing to do with the real traditional Eastern concept of karma. Karma has to do with reincarnation. So that's why you see a lot of motherfuckers right now, and you can't understand why they're doing so well financially, or have things that you don't, or seem to be happy. Because, okay, that's this life. They might be a cockroach in the next life. I assume that Trump will probably come back as a rat, a New York City sewer rat, if we can help it. So, some people will come back as a pampered house cat, but energy never dies. So if you don't believe that you come back to this earth, you do believe that there's usually a next reality for you. And that is totally, totally inherent on how you live this life. We're in training to be ancestors. That's what this life is about. This life is not fair. This life is not easy. That is why we have witchcraft. That's why we have root work. That's why they have what we used to call superstitions, but we now realize it's witchcraft. That is why we have religion. That is why we have faith. That is why we have spirits that we serve, because the earth is not a good place. But there are galaxies upon galaxies, and there are places where people are that we can't even get to. So a friend of mine always says, I want to go back to my home planet, my friend Kim. And I was walking through Midway Airport yesterday and saw all of these beautiful pictures. And I got 20% battery, so I'm going to let y'all go. Besides, I got to get this finished, make sure I got everything for the Divine Awakenings order, which is huge tomorrow. And I have 2 very large orders for my clients we have to finish, because all orders that were done in the last week are all going out this week. But, yeah, and everybody has a different, understanding of karma as to what it really is. So, it's just what happens when Westerns appropriate religion. They take it, they make it what they want it to be. So you got these people talking about Gnostic voodoo, and you got people talking about they are initiated into Izili Danto, and they're just things that you've really never heard of. Well, when it comes to a traditional religion, I am a traditionalist. When it comes to my own personal magical practice or some things that I feel spiritually, that's me. But I'm not going to profess it as truth and pass it out to the world, because I really believe in the worth of our religions. I believe in the worth of the African diasporic traditions. And, unlike a lot of religion, it's not there to oppress. It's there to release. It's there to make you free. It's there to put you in your own power. And so, that's my goal. I want to be able to navigate this world, which can be a very unhappy, unpleasant place, the best way possible. And I try to do it by taking care of me and mine and leaving other people alone. But I also seek justice and revenge when people misuse their powers, whether they be magical or mundane, with people that I know and love, or clients that the Loa tell me that I am allowed to work with. And I do not work with the Loa when I work with my clients. I work with their ancestors, my ancestors and spirits, because I am not initiated. There are rules. And so, I like tradition. Tradition shapes culture. And yes, things evolve, things change. That happens. But I think that the root of a belief system should be honored. I don't think that when people come into religion that are outside of the culture, that they have any say-so in changing the rules and the covenants of a particular religion. So, it's all about staying in your lane. But if you want to, if you're thinking about it, if you're at a crossroads, I can tell you that there's never been anything better for me, and the changes that it made in my life, and that you cannot be scared of human beings. You have to make those decisions for yourself. You have to make the decision whether or not your spiritual life is worth the risk. And I'm going to tell people it is. And what you're going to see is, you're not going to see everything become perfect and your life change completely for the better. You're probably not going to win the lottery. It doesn't happen when people become Christians, so I don't understand why people expect that when they join an ATR. But for me, it has helped me with the unanswerable. It has also had me have patience about the things that I can't answer. So, if you guys are struggling, now if you're a minor, if you're a teenager and you're watching this and you're living at home with your parents, you got to honor your parents' rules. There'll be time enough for you to grow and mature. You can read books, talk to maybe people, that are trustworthy. But when you're living at home, and if your parents are very much against you practicing any a religion that's pagan or part of the occult, there's time for you to grow up and do that. And really, this stuff is for grown folks, because I've seen a lot of young people who have access to spell work, and you've seen the little movies like Clueless and Mean Girl. Teenagers really ain't got no business with their hands in magic, just like they really ain't got no business behind the wheel of a car. So understand that if you're a young person, you gotta deal with the rules of your household. But once you are self-supporting, and I suggest that you do that as soon as humanly possible, the sooner you get your shit together, the better your life will be. And once you become self-sufficient, it ain't nobody's business but your own. That's one of my favorite blues songs. Ain't nobody's business what I do. So, I want to encourage people. If you're a grown person and you want to go to the Black Witch Conference, go. The tickets are still on sale. I think today is the last day you can buy them online. But please, if you want to go and you want to be around people who get you and you're a grown person and you haven't ever had that experience, I know enough of the women who are attending this conference to tell you that it is going to be a transformative experience. And yes, there are going to be people there that, I may not care for, or, have heard not so nice things about, or things like that. But I've actually, found that I can't let anybody make a decision about a person other than me. And it's really hard to make a decision about a person online. People have told me, oh, I thought you were taller. Stuff like that. Human interaction is very important. Getting to know people. Make sure that when you come that you protected yourself. Make sure you got taken a protection bag. Make sure you have on your protection trinkets and your amulets and things like that, just as a precaution, because this is a collection of witches. And I love the new term. I think Daisy said it, blitch. It's Black Witch. I'm a blitch. There's going to be a whole bunch of us there, but I think that for the most part, this is a spirit of sisterhood, and all of the women that I've spoken to are going, I really have enjoyed talking to them. I really look forward to meeting people, and I really think for a lot of folks, present company included, it's going to be a life-changing experience. And the more that we have these gatherings, it's important. I'm working on getting together a Black Witch Circle for Columbus. We'll be meeting at the Columbus Sanctuary, which is in the basement of the Magical Druid, and it's going to be a safe place for Black witches of color, especially those who practice traditional witchcraft and are in ATRs or in any pagan path, to come, to ask questions, to learn, because we can all learn something from each other, just to realize, hey, I'm not alone, that there are people out here that believe what I believe in, or they're trying to find their way. The Black Witch Conference is for witches of all skill levels, all types, from just finding out about all of this to I've been practicing all my life and I can levitate. I'm joking about the levitate part, but you never know. I've seen some strange shit in my life. So before my phone dies, I'm going to let you guys go. I got some stuff I got to put together here. I got to get ready for it tomorrow because it's like a 2.5-hour drive from my house. And I got shit to do. So anyways, Danny, if you can come out and play after the kids go to sleep, come over. Ashley will be back in a little bit. So we got back to packing these orders, and I want y'all to have some love, peace, and some Afro grease. And I probably will talk to you next week. I'll be leaving Wednesday or Thursday. Danny, that would help, because I got to count. This is a really big order for Divine Awakenings. I just got to count this stuff and make sure we got everything. I would hate to show up and be missing stuff. Thanks, girlfriend. It's a huge order. And I'm thanking the spirits for it, because it was right on time. And I'll see you guys. I look forward to seeing you. And I'm going to work on, maybe some more classes that we can do online and things like that. And I think I might maybe have a spiritual gathering for the new year. It just depends. It's kind of hard, because when you say, you're about to have all these witches up in your house, I might have to vet the people who stay here, but there'll be hotels and things like that as well. So I'm going to see if I can do that, but I'm kind of tired, so I don't know if that's going to jump off for the new year. But you never know. Stranger things have happened. So you all be blessed. There is Conjure Weekend here in November at Magical Druid, and I'll be one of the lecturers. I think it's just me. Seamus and another gentleman who are going to be the teachers for that weekend. So if you want to come in for that, contact me. Look on the Magical Druids page because I'll be teaching there as well. So you all stay blessed, and I hope that I answered some of your questions. But seriously, y'all, don't let this fool become president. I know Hillary is not our best choice, but statistically looking, this is not an endorsement. I know a lot of us feel like we have no choice, and the reality of the matter is possibly we don't. But we cannot let this man become president. We can't. He's not a man. He's vile, he's ignorant, he's rude, he's sexist, and guess what? The white folks gave a damn when he started talking about snatching women in their pussies, but they didn't give a damn about the wall and the Muslims and the blacks. But when you start talking about snatching little white girls by their pussies, everybody listens. Well, okay, good. I'll take what I can get at this point. So you all be blessed, and I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you out in cyberspace. I'm going to go get back to work. Love you all. Bye.